our first attacking set, Bibby should have put the ball through to Manfredi and Wigan would have scored and taken a lead early on, I believe. But he trusted himself and unfortunately came a metre short. And then I don't remember us having to play the ball in their 10 metres until that set after the Simbinins. The next attacking set after the Simbinins. So, yeah, we were awful, but that was all because Catalans were fantastic. They had their attitude absolutely spot on in defence, which made Wigan could not make any sort of ground at any point. And, they carried the ball really well. And one thing that's been overlooked across the board, it seems, is Gil Dudson got injured early on, maybe 14, 15 minutes into the game. He'd had a few really good carries. I don't remember him coming back on, but Joel Tompkins came on earlier than I would have expected him. And if it weren't for the haymakers at the end, he would have been my player of the match in this game because he really came to play. And there wasn't so much of the stupid loose offloading stuff that you sometimes get from a latter-day Joel Tompkins. It was all about determination and drive down the middle, and he played like a proper middle unit forward, and I was hugely impressed by that. And then, as Wigan was softened up, they brought young Artur Morgan, and his zip and his zeal and his skill.
His footwork is terrific, isn't it?
His stop and go, it makes him so hard to tackle. It shows that there's still room in rugby league for all sorts of sizes and shapes when you see a player like him, a skinny player like him. And do you know what? I really don't like the comparisons to Morgan Escaray because Artur Morg is a far smarter player than Morgan Escaray. Morgan Escaray is a brilliant, talented, instinctive solo player. Artur Morg sees the pitch fully in front of him. It's not just instincts with Artur Morg. He's got vision too, I think.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. I think we've got I've got some very high hopes for how that young fella's going to turn out. He's very exciting to watch. I think the Catalan pack is a thing of beauty. I mean, it really is. They've got when they are on a roll like they have been the last three games. Really, they're very difficult to stop. They churn up the meetings down the middle. McIlorum's bringing them onto the ball really well. And then just as they've gotten you softened up, that not only do they bring Morgan, they bring bloody Cassiano on. And they're using him so well. He is really sucking energy out the middle. And then he's passing the ball near the line as well. I like watching him play. And I thought he had a fantastic game.
And there's so much less of the stupid stuff, both with and without the ball, that we've often seen throughout the careers of Julian Busquets and Ben Garcia. They've tidied it right up the last few games, and that's a huge. When they play right, the whole team around them plays right, and it meant that it was so fucking easy for Drinkwater to put on the scores he put on and stuff like that. And they were class, but they weren't class near Wigan's line. It was easy for them Wigan's line. They were class between the 20s, really, on both sides of the ball.
They were really, really good. They played really well against us the week before. They played really well against Hull the week before that. They're clearly the form side right now in Super League. But, history suggests that Catalan do tend to blow a bit hot and cold. So let's wait and see what they look like in another month's time.
I don't know. This is a really important. After they went out of the Cup, this has been a really important run. And I think you've got to give them the benefit of this. They've sorted out what went wrong for them in the two games against Wire. And they look a much better side now coming out of the other end of that. And you've got to say, until they prove that they aren't the real deal, they are the real deal. They're joint at the top with Wigan and St Helens, who were the two favourites coming into the season, the two clearly outstanding sides last season, and they've just absolutely butchered one of those two sides. Now, Wigan were miles off, and people say it's been coming. It has been coming. A defeat has been coming, not a defeat to this level, a performance that was this far off what Wigan do. Wigan have been winning games through grit, determination, hard work, togetherness, teamwork, goal line defence, and timing of getting the big plays in at the right time. In this game, there was none of that groundwork stuff for the timing to even matter. So I'm not going to be a Facebook message thread ranter about sack the coach, drop all the players, all of that sort of stuff. But there is a concern here. Wigan need to find some sort of way of getting out of their own end. The forwards aren't doing it well enough at the moment, and Wigan need to find a bit more skill and flair in their attack. And with Bevan French looking like potentially sideline, I wish we'd know how long he was out for, like Warrington know how long Inglis is out for, but we don't. With him sidelined for some time, I worry about where the flair is in this side. Without Gildart and Marshall, who are very good attacking players as well, that could come back in and offer something different out wide that we've not really seen. Maybe then it'll turn around, but there's a bit that needs turning around in Wigan's attack and Wigan's discipline and defence in this game. Discipline for a while and defence in this game is not where it needs to be. To be performing so poorly in attack. Sam Powell, I'm a real fan of Sam Powell's for most of what he does for Wigan, but when he doesn't have confidence, he slows things down, he doesn't run from dummy half, and he just gives the ball to Hastings no matter what. Almost, and it makes it so hard. All Catalan's had to do is defend Hastings in this game because there was nothing else from anyone else, and Catalans did it really well. Catalans were outstanding. Wigan were fucking awful.
That's a very good summary.
Yeah.
Should we move on?
Yes.
Game 5 was Hull Kingston Rovers versus the Lee Centurions. It was 18-12 at half-time, a very competitive-ish sounding first half. It finished Hull KR 40, Lee 16. Marcus Griffiths was the referee. For the stats, the meter stats don't give a picture of a one-sided game. Hull KR made 20 more metres, but Lee had a marginally better average gain. The side was separated by just 11 carries, so possession was quite even. Rovers, though, made two more breaks and, crucially, 6 fewer errors. The game had the joint most penalties of any so far this year. The other with 21 was also a Lee game, although Lee were on the narrowly better side of an 11-10 count. For the winners, Sean Kenny-Dowell, 174 metres. Ryan Hall, 3 tries, 174 metres, 2 clean breaks. He's still knocking them over the line, isn't he? Jordan Abdul, 4 try assists and 3 offloads. For the losers, Mark Ione, 130 metres. Lewis Tierney, 1 try, assist, 5 tackle busts, 124 metres and 2 clean breaks. Ben Halliwell, 2 tries, 116 metres, 2 clean breaks, and Anthony Gelling, 119 metres and 4 offloads. Fan views.
Well, first of all, Ben Reynolds has got a grade B tripping charge for a 1-match penalty notice, so he's been ever present since he came back to Lee from Toulouse, so that's one of their consistent team selections out of the window.
Yeah. Carsten says, Lee are the Canberra Raiders of Super League. They capitulate in second halves. Ryan Hall with a hat-trick, as all good wingers do, and Jimmy Kay was back. No clue how the wife beater is still playing at this level. I assume that is a reference to Anthony Gelling. Mm-hmm. No clue why he's still playing at this level, as nobody knows what he will do, not even his teammates or his ex-partner.
Tom Andrews said, not a game for the defence fans. Glad to be back in the East Stand, and the party atmosphere added to a comfortable performance from the Rovers. Thought Milnes and Taki had their best games for us. Abdul class again, and special mention to Hadley, who had to wear a mask to play. The top 6 Robins go marching on. Yeah, Dean Hadley was all Phantom of the Opera for this one, or maybe what's his name who played for Chelsea the other day in a mask, who's the defender?
Yeah, the left back. Rudiger.
Rudiger, that's it, yeah. But without smashing someone's face apart. So,
yeah. Well, at least the disciplinary haven't said so. I actually didn't watch this game. I listened to it on the radio, and it was Radio Humberside. And as you know, Radio Humberside, it's not always easy to tell exactly what the fair view of the game is. But according to Radio Humberside, this was an incredibly one-sided game. And even at half-time, when Hull KR were just up by 6 points, Radio Humberside were totally convinced that Hull KR were playing by far the better. And I have to say, from actually just listening to the sort of play-by-play commentary, it appeared to me anyway that Hull KR were dominating sort of possession and control, even if they were dominating on the scoreboard. It sounded relatively comfortable for them.
Yeah, it feels like they could, whenever they got into an attacking position, they were able to score. I don't get Lee again. Carson points it out. You know, they were competitive in the first half. They pulled it back to being 18-12. Well, it was 12-10 at one point actually. So 12-all, sorry, at one point at 20 minutes in, through a nicely worked try for Ryan Briley actually against his former club, but they really are just not a part of second halves.
Yeah. So that speaks to conditioning, and I don't suppose we ought to be hugely surprised, given the level of preparation and the fact that they've just come up from the Championship, that's an issue for them.
No, and the fact that they had the year off last year. I mean, they were only able to name a 19-man squad for the match day anyway. They switched things around. So Brendan Elliott, who they've brought in from the NRL to play fullback in a side that started the season without a fullback, he sat on the bench whilst Ryan Briley started at fullback, and it just doesn't make sense. Some of the things that go on with that side of things. The amount of different combinations they've had at sort of 1, 6, 7, and 9 this season is just mind-boggling, really, when they haven't really needed to do that many things either. Ryan Hall with a hat-trick. Most of them didn't involve much work from him. One of them was really good play by the Phantom, Dean Hadley. So, they were put on a plate for him, but he's still there to finish him off, isn't he, the big winger?
He's scoring tries, and that's what you want your wingers to do, isn't it? So, all credit to him. It's proved to be a very good sign. I was quite sceptical, to be honest.
Yeah.
And when they brought him back, but I don't think you can argue with what he's done so far from them. And I'm delighted actually for Hull KR that things have improved, because it looked pretty desperate actually in the first couple of weeks this season. You thought, oh, here we go again. But they've got some points on the board and are looking like a reasonable mid-table-ish side at the moment, aren't they?
Yeah, and Rowan Milnes is looking like a good foil for the creative but not necessarily predictable and Jordan Abdul. So, and who's playing really well. It would be way out in left field for anyone to suggest Jordan Abdul might make a World Cup squad, but will Ryan Hall?
I wouldn't have thought so. I mean, he's clearly scoring a lot of tries and he's got a lot of experience. I just think there are enough wingers now that I think that boat's probably sailed.
Yep. Let's move on to the last game then. So
this was a surprise.
I tracked this on through.
I'm never ever bloody tipping Huddersfield again in Super Brew ever.
Just leave their games unselected, I think, is the way to go.
That's the best thing to do.
Yeah, I followed along just on Twitter and stuff because I was the television was tuned into the Wembley round ball game between my local side Blackpool and Lincoln. I did wonder what was going on in the Nadines' house there, because of course Phil being born in Blackpool but living in Lincoln, this would have been an interesting one for him to be watching. But yeah, my eyes were